When you go to a porn site, women are usually in the middle of having sex, or they're about to have sex and they're excited about it, or there's some backstory where she's the maid or whatever, and then it quickly leads to the man and woman having sex, or the woman having sex with multiple people. Essentially, when you go to a porn site, you will see an endless supply of women who are interested in sex, are having sex, want sex, love sex, and so on. Yet, when a guy walks through everyday life, it may seem to him that women aren't interested in sex at all, right? They don't seem to be showing any interest in getting to sex at all. Yet, according to Dr. Terri D. a professor of psychology at the Ohio State University at Mansfield, on average, women think about sex 18.6 times per day, which is every 51 minutes if you factor in 8 hours of sleep per night. Here's a quote from Dr. Fisher when referring to the amount of times that a man or a woman thought about sex during the day. The tally counts reported by the men range from 1 to 388. The variation for the women was less extreme but still quite large, ranging from 1 to 140. Because there was so much variation, it makes most sense to talk about the median scores, 50th percentile, because medians are less influenced by extreme scores. We found that the median number of sexual thoughts for men was 18.6, and for women it was 9.9. In contrast, the average for men was 34.2, and for women it was 18.6. So for the purposes of this video, I'll just talk about the median score. In the case of women, that is 9.9, and for men it's 18.6. Also, for simplicity, I'll just round the number up to 10 rather than saying 9.9. So women think about sex approximately 10 times per day. This means that approximately 10 times per day, she's thinking of giving a guy a blowjob. She's thinking of getting bent over and having sex doggy style. She's thinking of having sex in the missionary position, or she's thinking about kissing a guy, him fingering her, and him and her eventually having sex. So if the average woman thinks about sex at least 10 times per day, why does it seem as though most women aren't even interested in sex? Why do women pretend to not be interested in sex? The first reason why is so you would trust her when in a relationship. This is something that many women worry about and do when they're single, and it's also something that they do when in a relationship or marriage. When a woman is single and she's trying to find herself a boyfriend, she usually won't want to give guys the impression that she would have sex at the click of a finger. Alright, all a guy has to do is say, hey, you want it? And she will say yes. She wants to make sure that guys look at her as relationship material. As a result, she won't show a lot of interest in sex and will hope that a guy will look at her as being girlfriend material or wife material. This is where the classic question of, but will you respect me in the morning comes from. Many women worry that if they show too much interest in having sex and then sleep with a guy right away, that he won't see her as relationship material. He won't actually respect her in that way. He will look at her as a girl that he's going to have sex with for a while, or maybe just have sex with once and then get back on with his life. Yet, if her objective is to find herself a boyfriend, she'll usually want to come across as the type of girl who isn't really interested in sex and will only have sex if she gets into a relationship with a guy. This then helps to ensure that when she's in a relationship with a guy and it gets 3, 6, or 9 months into the relationship, that he doesn't then become clingy, controlling, overprotective, and jealous. She hasn't really given him anything to worry about, right? He can look at her and trust that she will be able to control herself and she's going to remain loyal to him, and they can have a committed, lasting relationship. So when it comes to a relationship or a marriage, if a woman was the type of woman who wasn't actively chasing sex when she was single, then after the initial lust stage of the relationship has settled down, she will almost certainly revert back to her old behavior where she is not chasing sex. It doesn't mean that she's no longer interested in sex and that she won't have sex, but it just means that she's reverting back to her default type of behavior now that the lust part of the relationship is settling down a bit. A man can change the way that she approaches sex in the relationship and turn her into the type of woman who initiates sex, but he has to make sure that he uses a different approach with her. If he wants her to use a different approach with him, he has to use a different approach with her. For example, if his normal approach is to just get in bed and hope that she initiates sex, then it's not going to happen with a woman like that. He's going to need to change his approach and start being more masculine around her, start being a bit more dominant, and turn her on with that type of behavior. He's also going to need to make sure that he's not being too timid or reserved during sex. He needs to make sure that he lets out his masculine side so she can then feel turned on in new and different ways. She can start to bring out more of her feminine side, which will naturally make her be more affectionate and want to initiate sex more. Number 2, so you will appreciate having sex with her. If a woman gives it up too easily, most guys aren't really going to appreciate the sex. They're most likely going to enjoy it, because it feels great when you stick it in and you're grabbing her titties and she's sucking you and all that sort of stuff. That's fantastic. But if you're going to really appreciate it in the way that she wants you to appreciate it, it's going to be about you looking at her as special. You looking at her as a woman that you're falling in love with and that you want to be in a relationship with. Of course, sometimes a woman doesn't want a relationship after sex. Right? Sometimes a woman is busy with her career or busy with her studies or just wants to enjoy single life before she eventually settles down. In cases like that, she doesn't want the guy to see her as special. She doesn't want the guy to fall in love with her and want a relationship with her. Women like that just want you to want them sexually, to have a good time, and for you to be okay about parting ways when the time is right. By the way, if you want to secure a woman like that into a relationship, you have to be the one who is completely fine about parting ways when the time is right. You have to be the one who is not chasing a relationship. Women like that will change and want to have a relationship with the type of guy who makes them feel attracted, makes them fall in love, but isn't trying to push for a relationship. Yet for most women, one of the reasons why they pretend not to be interested in sex is so you look at them as being special. You fall in love with them. You appreciate having sex with them, and you then want to have a relationship with them. Reason number 3. So other people don't look at her as being slutty and therefore treat her with less respect. Reason number 4. To see if you will remain confident and keep interacting with her and turning her on until you and her get to the point where you kiss and have sex. Some women make it obvious that they want to have sex with you. Some give subtle hints, and some don't want to give you any hints at all. In most cases, the reason why a woman won't want to give you any hints at all is that she wants to make sure that she finds herself a boyfriend who has independent confidence. In other words, she doesn't want to be with a guy who can only feel confident if she makes him feel confident by showing him lots of interest, being nice to him, being gentle, being emotionally considerate, and so on. In most cases, a woman like that will have relationship experience, and she will know that if she gets into a relationship with a guy who is emotionally needy, then she is going to have a difficult time with him. He's going to end up becoming jealous, clingy, potentially overprotective, and maybe even angry and aggressively controlling. On the other hand, if she gets into a relationship with a guy who has independent confidence and knows that he is good enough for her, regardless of what she says or does, then he's almost certainly not going to become that needy, clingy, controlling type of boyfriend. He is going to know that he's good enough for her, and he's not going to need her to be constantly reassuring him of that. As a result, she can relax into being his girl, and he can be her man. So if you're a single man and you want to get to sex and potentially into a relationship with women of your choosing, you need to be able to make them feel sexually attracted and turned on by you as you talk to them. You also need to have the confidence to make a move and know when the time is right to make a move. Once you get to a first kiss with a woman, the relationship between you and her changes from just being friendly and flirty to being sexual. When in a relationship or a marriage with a woman, you need to understand that even though she might not be showing obvious interest in having sex with you, she's still having sexual thoughts every day. Don't expect her to suddenly change and start initiating sex for no reason. If you want her to start initiating sex, you have to be willing to interact with her in ways that make her feel sexually attracted and turned on and want to have sex with you. Some women are very sexually aggressive and will chase sex all the time, whether they're single or in a relationship, but the majority of women wait for a man to interact with them, turn them on, and then have the confidence to make a move and get the sex to happen. When in a relationship, if a man does that often enough, it will bring about a change inside of his woman. She will start to want to initiate sex because she will enjoy the act of sex so much more. She will love the fact that he is able to make her feel turned on and make her want sex simply based on the way that he is interacting with her. He is now able to naturally and easily make her feel attracted, turned on, and wanting to have sex with him. For example, if a man and a woman are in a relationship or a marriage, and they've gotten into the routine of just giving each other a kiss on the cheek or a peck on the lips, a man can break from that routine, right? He can start to create a different dynamic in the relationship. He has to have the courage to do it and not lose confidence if she's not initially into it. For example, rather than just sticking to the routine of giving her a quick kiss on the cheek when they're parting ways to go to work in the morning, or a quick peck on the lips to say goodnight, a man can break from that routine. He can pull his woman into him and give her a proper kiss on the lips. He can then hold her in a warm, loving hug for about 5 or 10 seconds, and then he can give her another kiss. This time he can make the kiss more passionate. He can start off with just giving her another kiss on the lips, but then move to make it a tongue kiss. Now, initially, his girlfriend or wife might start to squirm or might try to push him away and say, "What are you doing? What are you doing? No, let's not do that." But he needs to maintain his confidence. He needs to allow her to feel attracted to his masculinity in that moment. He needs to allow her to see that he isn't being thrown off by her challenge. He's able to turn the kiss into a more passionate kiss, which then naturally leads to him and her having sex. Alternatively, if they don't have sex in that particular moment, then at least when she's thinking about sex that day or the next day, she's going to be thinking about having sex with him. She's going to be thinking about how she wanted that kiss to turn into something more. As a result, she's going to be more likely to initiate sex or be open to sex when he next initiates it. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you'd like to learn more, I have 2 recommendations for you. The first recommendation is for the single men watching this video who want to get some sex or a relationship with an attractive woman. The second recommendation is for the men who are in a relationship with a woman who is no longer affectionate or no longer in love with them. So the first recommendation is for the single men, and that is to read my ebook, The Flow, or listen to the audiobook version, The Flow on Audio. When you read The Flow or listen to The Flow on audio, you will learn exactly what to say and do when you meet a woman to make her feel sexually attracted to you, feel connected with you, and want to give you her phone number, want to kiss you, have sex with you, and get into a relationship with you. The second recommendation is my program, Make Her Love You for Life, which is available on video or audio. Using the approach to relationships that I teach in this program brings out a woman's affectionate, loving, caring, attentive side. She wants to be a good woman for you. She feels sexually attracted to you. She respects you, and she's completely in love with you. One final point that I want to make for you in this video is to point out the fact that you're not a bad man for having sexual thoughts every day. A woman has sexual thoughts every day. Of course, on average, most men have double the amount of sexual thoughts that a woman has, but a woman still thinks about sex at least 10 times per day. The amount of times that a woman thinks about sex will be different for every woman. Some women will think about it 50 or 100 times a day, whereas other women might think about it 3 or 4 times a day. So what you need to understand is that women think about sex, they want sex, and they enjoy sex. You're not doing a bad thing by having sexual thoughts. You're not doing a bad thing by making a woman feel attracted to you and feeling turned on as you talk to her, and then having the confidence to move in for a first kiss. You're essentially being a natural man and allowing her to be a natural woman, and you're both expressing your sexual attraction for each other. So if you're a single guy and you want to get some sex, or you want to get into a sexual relationship, what you need to understand is that even though most women go through life pretending as though they're not interested in sex, they actually are. Right? What you need to do is interact with a woman, make her feel attracted as you talk to her, and then have the confidence to move in for a first kiss or get her phone number, go on a date with her, and then get into a sexual relationship with her. When in a relationship where there isn't much sex or any sex, if you are willing to subtly change your approach with her, then you will see her behavior start to change. She will really start to want to initiate sex with you, because when she does have sex with you, you bring out a side of her that makes her want to have sex with you again and again.